Persian Studies. It's a great pleasure today to have Dr. Aydogdy Kurbanov here with us. We are lucky that he is right now in New York, and it was only a rather short hop compared to Turkmenistan, where, of course, is his original homeland. Dr. Kurbanov received his Ph.D. in History and Archaeology from the Freie Universität Berlin, and his dissertation was on the Hephthalites, which he will explain, Archaeological and Historical Analysis, 2010, magna from laude. Currently, he is a research fellow at the Institute for the Study of the Ancient World in New York, and that's why we're lucky to have him from New York. He has done extensive excavations in Turkmenistan. The one that I am envious, of course, is the Dashli Tepe, that he conducted excavations between 2012 and 2018, and if you wonder why, I will tell you later on. And he has a number of publications. He has more than 70 articles in Russian, Turkmen, German, French, and Turkish. But three of his books, the first one I think was in Russian, correct?
Yes.
Is it a Cherky story, right? Eftaliti, so the Heptalite. And then another book, Great Silk Road and Turkmenistan, published in Ashgabat in 2011. And more recently, The History and Archaeology of the Hephthalites in 2013, which was part of his dissertation. And now he tells me very soon there is going to be the great Oxford Handbook of the Archaeology of Turkmenistan, which Dr. Kurbanov has co-edited with Dr. Wadsworth, if I'm correct. And I can say more and more when I look at this CV, but it's really great, I think, to have scholars that are from different parts of the world to come and discuss matters that actually pertains to this larger Iranian or Persian world. And we usually look at European scholars who come from this side, or sometimes even scholars from Europe. So it's really great to have Dr. Kurbanov here to speak about the eastern frontier of the Sasanian Empire, analysis of sites and finds in southern Turkmenistan. Please, Dr.
Thank you.
Kurbanov.
Thank you very much, Raj, for introduction, and thank you for being here. It's a great honor for me to give a talk in front of you. So, my talk will be about research in Turkmenistan, particularly in southern Turkmenistan, which connect with a part of the Sasanian period. That means in case of Turkmenistan, it's mostly 4th, 7th century CE. And let me start my talk with a just brief map of where is Turkmenistan. Most of you, I think you know. Turkmenistan is situated in Central Asia, between Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan in the north, and Afghanistan and Iran in the south. And short history of Turkmenistan. Turkmenistan was conquered in end of 19th century by Russian Empire. And when they conquered modern Turkmenistan, it became Trans-Caspian, so-called oblast or province of Russian Empire. And you can see it's a little bit different, that this part, Mangashlag, which nowadays is part of Kazakhstan, was also part of that day Turkmenistan. And after October Revolution in 1917, Turkmenistan became part of Soviet Union and became one of this 15th Republic. And here you can see the emblem or flag of Soviet Turkmenistan. And Turkmenistan became independent after the collapse of the Soviet Union, 27th of October 1991. And if you look to the nature of Turkmenistan, as you can see, most part of Turkmenistan it's considered with Karakum Desert. On the west we have a Caspian Sea, and in the south, which has became natural border between Turkmenistan and Iran, so-called Köpedağ mountain range, or another name, the Turkmen-Khorasan mountain range. And so this picture was taken not far from Ashgabat. Actually, it's a Nisa. And here's a mountains, that means a border, and behind it's Iran. So here's a very short outline of my present talk. We will start with historical background. Later we move to the regions well incorporated to Sasanian Empire. It's a so-called Merv, Abivan, Sarax, and Partawa, or Parthiana, and the region less incorporated into the Sasanian Empire, Dehistan. Later during my talk, I will explain which means like less or more incorporated. So historical background. Here you can see on this map the historical regions for that time. Here we have the most famous like Sogdiana, Bactria, Khwarezm, Hyrkania. But in the territory of South Turkmenistan, we have also regions like Merv, Sarax, Abiver, Parthian or Partava, and here Dehistan, which sometimes was connected with, united with Hyrkania, and became like just Hyrkania, but most part of the history was separated from Hyrkania by Etchrek River. So history for part of the science period started with Persian Empire. Persian, the dynasty of Arshakids originated from Dehistan region in South Turkmenistan, and after you can see here the Nisa, which became royal residence for Persian kings, and later they moved and they conquered other part, and you can see this map of Persian Empire. And later, in 2024, it was a battle at Hormizdagan. You can see that here Sasanian relief from Firuzabad. And during this battle, Ardashir first, who was probably governor of Pars, you can see the region of the Pars on that top. He defeated the last king of Persian, Ardalan, Fos, and this defeat was marking the founding of the Sasanian Empire. Here on this famous relief, you can see here it's Ardashir, the king of Persian king. Here probably the vizier of Persian king, and here the Shapur, son of Ardashir. And it became founded of the big empire, Sasanian Empire. This map was taken from the article of St. John Simpson. Unfortunately, I have to say that it's incorrect. For example, Gurgan Wall should be a little bit south, Merv should be also south, and east of Merv. I don't know how that happens with St. John Simpson, but it's some mistakes on this map. So back to the historical background. As you see, southern Turkmenistan was likely conquered during the reign of Ardashir, his coin, and his son Shapur first, and later also was Shapur second. He had several campaigns against the Hionids, Kidarites, and later also it was Heftalites. On this map you can see this nomad, they came from the north, and when they moved to the south, to the nowadays Turkmenistan, or to the Bactria region, they had several battles with Sasanians. Sometimes they were successful for Sasanians, sometimes unsuccessful. And one of those unsuccessful battles happened with Sasanian Shahenshah Peros, who was killed during the third campaign against the Heftalites. This happened in 484. It was a battle, so-called in the region of Gorgo, probably in nowadays Gurgan area. And he was killed during the battle. It happened the first and the last time when Sasanian Shahenshah died during the battle against the Heftalites. And this place, with famous plate from Hermitage Museum in St. Petersburg, depicts Peros, and he's hunting Argalis and this silver bowl. So Heftalites you can see the Tamga. Tamga is a family or tribal symbol of Hephthalites. Alkhans, who was the south of Hindu Kush. They sometimes Hephthalites and Huno or Alkhans, they united, sometimes it's divided. And most probably they were, how to say, different tribe from one confederation. So Hephthalites, and also we have Kidarites here. So they were the main enemy of Sasanians in territory of not only Central Asia, but also south of Central Asia in the territory of nowadays Afghanistan, Pakistan, northwest of India. As I said, sometimes this war was successful, sometimes unsuccessful for Sasanians. And another connection of Sasanian dynasty with southern Turkmenistan. The last king of Sasanian dynasty, Yazdegerd III, here you can see his coin, minted coin. He died near the Merv. We know this is from several written sources. And here, for example, Al-Tabari, he mentioned that when he was killed and his body was thrown into the Murghab River, the archbishop ordered a tomb to be built within the garden of the archbishop in Merv. He himself accompanied the Christian of Merv, went out and took the corpse of Yazdegerd from the river. And after it was placed in the coffin, this was explained that grandmother of Yazdegerd III was a Christian, Shirin, the Queen Shirin, and that's the reason that because Shirin, she was a supporter of the Christians. Even Yazdegerd was not itself Christian, but because of the honor of his grandmother, he was buried by Christians. And so probably grave of Yazdegerd somewhere in Merv area. Probably if it says it's in a garden of archbishop, it's outside of Merv, should be somewhere south of Merv, because we know again from the written source, probably the garden was outside, southwest of Merv. So let's start with the regions well incorporated. It's regions Merv, Abibert, Sarax, and Partava. Here on this map you can see the Merv oasis. You see this delta of Murghab River, here's the Murghab River, and these red dots, the Sasanian period sites. Here the map of also Abibert region, Merv oasis, Partava, and Sarax. And again, you see these dots, which means not only Sasanian period, but also part of Sasanian period sites. Here, the borders of the modern Mari province, or we call it Turkmenistan Vilayat. So there are approximately 140 known sites which date to part of Sasanian time. And if you move to the west, to the Ahal province, there are two regions here. Historical, it's like Partava and Abibert, plus, Sarax, which in the Sasanian time was one province, Abibert with Sarax. So in all these three regions, there are approximately 149 known sites which dates to part of Sasanian time. So let's talk about the morphology of Sasanian sites in southern Turkmenistan. First, it's Depe or Tepe, a mound of circular, oval, square, rectangular, or quadrangular form, typically elevated on solid parsa, round earth platforms, and sometimes surrounded by ditches or moats. Second, it's Kala or Gala, fortress of square, rectangular, quadrangular, irregular form, generally encircled by defensive ditches or moats. And the last one, it's a sprawling mounded settlements, irregularly shaped, unfortified sites, situated either in open countryside or in the proximity of fortified depots. So the most famous site in southern Turkmenistan is, of course, Merv. And when we think about Merv, it's not only one site. Actually, there are 6 Mervs. It started with the most Asian part, it's Erkala, you can see there. Erkala, it's dated pre-Achaemenid period. And in the time of Parthians and Sasanians, it became citadel of later Merv, Gaur-Kala. And in 10th, 11th century, Merv moved to Sultan Kala. It's a time of Seljuks. Later it moved to Abdullah Khan Kala. All of them actually were Merv. It's a Timurid time. And unfortunately, it's not here on the map, but here, the Bayram Ali Khan Kala, which is 18th, 19th century Merv, and nowadays modern city Mari, which is the 6th Merv. And here as a satellite map, you can see the Gaur Kala with Erk Kala. And another pictures of Erk Kala and Gaur Kala, which Erk Kala became like a citadel for Gaur Kala. And I would like to stress this place. Here, you see here, it's in 1960s, it was made a cut of the wall of Gaur Kala to understand chronology of the walls of part of Sasanian Merv. So, according to this work, we have 4 phases of the wall. Here you can see this map, the picture. So first, it's associated with Antiochus, Seleucid king, who also used to live in Merv. Even later, Merv was called Antiochia Margiana. And the first wall face, it's the time of Antiochus. You can see the time when he was ruled. Second phase connected with the Mithridates II, it's a Parthian king. Third was assigned to the late Parthian period and also the reign of Shapur. That means this part was already in the Sasanian time. And the last phase is associated with the time of the reign of Khosrov, Anushirvan, 6th century. So we can see that the wall of Gaur Kala was kind of changed several times and became one of the most famous defensive wall in that time. And also Merv famous for being as one of the royal mint of the Sasanian Empire. And in Merv was minted coins starting from Ardaşir first, and it was continued to produce with interruption until the fall of the empire. Here you see in this picture the coins which were minted in Merv. The coins of Bahram, Fils, Yazdigat II, Kavad, Khosrov II. All of them were minted in Merv. And why we know that we were minted in Merv? Because of this. The coins have monograms. Here, you can see, or here, on the coins of Hormuz II, a coin of Khosrov II, this monogram which says the name of the place, Merv. This is another evidence for Sasanian time. It's a Middle Persian or Pahlavi inscription found in southern Turkmenistan. This piece was found in 1904. It was an expedition of Carnegie Institution in the imperial time already. It was the first professional expedition, archaeological expedition, was made in Turkmenistan in the time of Imperial Russia, and they excavated. And now they also excavated Gaur and Erk Kala. They found this ostraca, which nowadays in Hermitage, because they were obliged to send everything to the capital of Russian Empire. At that time was St. Petersburg. And around 50 Middle Persian inscriptions, mostly ostraca, were found dating to the 5th, 7th century in southern Turkmenistan. For example, we have this ostraca is this, sorry for the quote of the picture, this part is this, and what it says that accusation of taking a false oath directed against the Mobed, the Zoroastrian priest of high rank. He gave a doubtful oath, but Mobed should not tell lies. This kind of accusation, you can see, it's already give out information about situation. And another very interesting findings. So in 76, It was an excavation of Ujjasangarama in Yaurkala, and they dated to the 7th century. It was found several shards with names. For example, Farozat, Kamkari Wahran, another name, Kamkari Sasan, you can see, and for example, the name Sasan. There are also other Iranian names of these shards. So, another interesting excavated area in Yaurkala, you can see it's the northeast of Yaurkala. It's a so-called oval house, which by Soviet archaeologists they thought it's maybe Christian monastery, but later excavation and later analysis of the findings say that it was not monastery, it was probably caravanserai, because no evidence that it was used as a Christian monastery. But there was found this very interesting vessel, which bears this, vertical lines. It was found in 1962. But as unfortunately happened in Turkmenistan, present location is unknown. And the available photographs are insufficiently clear to permit a reliable decipherment of this scripture. So maybe in the future will be some scholar who will work on this and give us information what's written here. Unfortunately, this person should work only with these pictures. But still, maybe something important in this Middle Persian inscription. So another site which also disappeared because of the agricultural works, and it was built new village there. It's a very famous necropolis of Merv. So it was excavated in 1954-56, and during this excavation was fixed 1,191 different types of the barrels. So there we see not only, it's several mounds, as you can see, because it was 7 small but heavily eroded hills located next to each other. You can see that means a Russian excavation, Raskop 4, Raskop 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the people who excavated Kashlenko, Dehistan, and this is the year when they were excavated. So many interesting findings were made in this necropolis. For example, ossuaries. From there, you can see the different types of ossuaries. Most of them nowadays in the State Museum in Ashgabat. And even there was found a large square naus with 3 phases and containing 24 barrel chambers, which dated to 5th, 7th century. And here are some pictures of this. And you can see here, because of this, it was some of the skeleton were found inside of this kind of coffin. It was probably also Christian, also buried there. But also there was finding of this. Very interesting, the inscription made in Jewish square script, and all this. And 2 of them, we know that Joseph Bar Jacob and Asher, these 2 was still waiting for achievement. And also very interesting still images from the Merv necropolis. Unfortunately, most of this unpublished. We don't have a full publication of this. That's still waiting for publication of these wonderful findings. Also in Yaurkala, in south east of Yaurkala, was found Buddhist temple and Sangarama, and during the excavation was found also the head of the Buddha. And it's very interesting because, and here was found also this. It's a so-called Merv vase, the painted vase, which had a height 46 centimeters, dated to the 6th century, and discovered in 1962. It's very interesting. There are 2 opinions about this. First, it's a life of the person who lives hunting, enjoying eating, or like after his death, and he was taken to the cemetery. But the recent time, I think most of the researchers, they think it's an afterlife. It's not the life in this world, it's a life in another world, like a life in the paradise. In the paradise, after his death, he's enjoying his life there. So if you think like this, we should start from here, go there, and after there, you know, if you think in this, that it's afterlife. So for example, we have here 4 scenes, and you can see on this vase, it's a, we don't know what means this or there's some elements. There are article of comparative also, but it's still kind of under discussion and accepted. But as I said, most of the call that it's afterlife, so it's very interesting. Now I would like to mention several sites which dated to Sasanian, part of Sasanian time. One of these is Göbekli Tepe. Here it's Antiochus, so-called Antiochus wall, but it's actually Sasanian wall. I will tell more about this wall later. So let's start with Göbekli Tepe. Göbekli Tepe is very interesting because it shows like late Persian and early Sasanian time. It shows the how to say, how was changed Merv oasis. It's a transition from Persian to Sasanian time. We have here again excavation of the wall, and as you can see, it's dated from Persian to early Sasanian time. And also in Göbekli Tepe was found, according to Koshelenko and Gaipov, they think that in the middle it's probably traces of fire temple, but it was published in the article in 2012. But in later article, when they excavated more, they rejected this idea. Now it became house of the governor. So you see in the article sometimes we have first one idea from temple, it became house of the governor. So, but for that time, as they said, it's like temple of fire temple. And why it's also interesting, this site, it was found this figurine, but the same, but not figure, but its mold was discovered in Kirki. As you see, it's east of Turkmenistan, but they're almost the same. So probably it was kind of, this type of the figurine was used by Sasanian propaganda to spread idea of Sasanian dynasty to the new conquered territories. Another site is Çelburç, which dated even like wider, like to the medieval time. You can see this type of the walls. It's a reconstruction of Rachenko from 1950s. It was kind of widespread for Partha and Sasanian time. And because we have another site, Dumnalı Kala, which have the same walls, and also dated, as you see, after Sasanian time. And here's a map of the Dumnalı Kala and a picture. And another interesting site dated to that time, it's Harabakoshik. It's only one known historian church in Turkmenistan, southern Turkmenistan. As we know that an historian Christianity was accepted by Sasanian dynasty as a kind of main against the Orthodox Christianity in Byzantium. So, and it was allowed for the historians to build their churches. So one of these churches we have in southern Turkmenistan, and if you look, it has analogy also like in a Selevki Ctesiphon church from dated to the 6th century, or John the Baptist church in Larnaca in Armenia, also dated to the 5th century. Here, Harabakoshik in southern Turkmenistan. This is only one well-known fire temple in Turkmenistan. It was excavated between 1997 and 2009 by a Polish team, and it's situated in Serats oasis. Here's the Serats, and Menechairan east of Serax. And here the plan of the fire temple, and entrance from this side. Here there was a eternal fire, and this part was not excavated. Here's the reconstruction. You can see it's the entrance, and what's interesting here, these two very interesting decoration. This you can see is this part, and this over here, this part. It's a stucco decoration. And here also the view of northeastern corner of the temple, and the view of the northern passage. You know, here, this part goes to the north, and some findings from there. According to Barbara Kaim, who excavated this site, she dated it's like late Persian time. Late Persian, so it's like, for her, it's like 3rd century, middle of 3rd century actually. It's early Sasanian also, but this type it's mostly Persian. It's not Sasanian, but probably also in the early Sasanian time was used, but it's, as we see, it's mostly Persian. And if we move to the Abivert region, we were here, moved to Serax, now we're in Abivert region. And in Abivert, we have a well-excavated site. It's called Aktepe, and it's dated to Persian Sasanian time, and also even later to medieval time. Here, the Depe itself, and here's a modern road. And actually, this part also is dated. This part dated to the medieval time. This part is Persian Sasanian time. Also, it was found this temple and altar, but because of the level of excavation, it's not accepted widely for now. So we will still need to work to analyze this finding. But according to Gubayev and Loginov, who excavated this site, they think it's probably should be fire temple. And also Aktepe very famous with finding of many bulla and seal impression. As you can see, they dated to Sasanian time, late Sasanian time. And there is very interesting site. It's called Konakaka. You can see here in the picture, it's situated, if we close to between Ashgabat and Mari. And this site has very interesting, you know, these triangular towers, which we have only for another site, Chebishken. As I said before, we see it in Dobrali, in Cherbuch, one type of the walls. This is, they change it. I mean, the Sasanian time was a change of the defensive wall of the, instead of making this kind of quadrangle, they made it this kind of triangular. So it was explained that it's also this type of the triangular was used by Sasanians in Merv Oasis in Chebishken Depe Kala site, sorry. And now archaeology and pottery. So if you look to these two big regions, Merv and Abiver, they are same. It says like pottery mostly undecorated. It was produced locally and was not widely distributed. There are almost no stylistic similarities with pottery from neighboring regions, let's say from north or south. The Sasanian pottery production at Merv was likely extramural. Here is a sample of this Sasanian period pottery. And here in Merv, again, from different centuries, like early, late, and also from Aktepe, also we have the same. But there is a very interesting site. It's called Yandaklik. Yandaklik, situated not far from Ashgabat, this part. And why it's very interesting? It's different. And why it's different? Because it has influence of heftalites here. because we know from the history they had a war, even like Perosky was killed during the battle. So probably here we have some evidence of the presence of the Heftalites in southern Turkmenistan. And if you look this part, here is a salt, because they came from that part as a controlled salt. We know that. And in this area, the pottery also have a similarity. The pottery like this in this area. So for now, we have only one place, Yandakli, which can show that some presence of nomads in southern Turkmenistan. Now it's a region less incorporated. It's Dehistan. This is Balkan province of Turkmenistan, and we have only 24 sites, known sites, and this is nowadays Dehistan. And if you ask how that possible, you know, but before it was canal, for example, here, Etrek River, and here we have a Shadus canal, and from Shadus also we have another canal. So also these canals was used in part of Sasanian time. So that's why we have many sites here for that time. And it's divided periodically to Iron Age, south of Dehistan, part of Sasanian time, northwest, and the biggest part is medieval time. So Dehistan, medieval Dehistan, and situated north of this Madao. And it was one of the biggest cities in the Silk Road in the western part of Turkmenistan. And here, some satellite images of these sites. You see here, for example, Rustem Kala, or Gökçüktepe, Shadis Kala, Gayraki. And if you look to the pictures, they're different. They have two types. There is this line, and south of this, we have a site like this. You see, Uluguzili, Rustem Kala. But if you look to the north of this line, you see Shadis, Gayraki. The difference, they have two parts. Here only one. Why it's two parts? For example, it was excavated Gökçüktepe. Here on the, you see the picture of this. It was excavated by Turkmen-French Archaeological Expedition between 1994 and 1997. And here, plan. This shows us after excavation, that this area almost was no any construction. The main life was here in Citadel. So it was explained that this site, which dated to Sasanian, late Sasanian time, it was used by nomads. Here it was only for the horses, to keep horses there, and here they lived. So we have a big influence of nomadic presence here, and even like Persians, even they came from that part, they couldn't control the Dehistan. They left this area. Later it happened with also Sasanian, but they tried to control, and we have some evidences. But here, for example, some pottery, which, as I said, it's different than from Merv Abivert, but it's closer to Hyrcanian pottery, south of Etrek River. And also, in this site, we have very interesting findings. We have a stump seal, and we have a clay bulla, and depicted in an ibex standing to the right in front of the tree, here, for example. And another very interesting, it's fragment of clay bullet bearing 3 distinct seal impressions, of which only one is well preserved. And this one, the preserved, it's features the middle Persian inscription, Gurgan is the center, and defend and judge of the poor along the border. Here, it's from Vika Gizelen. The seal is identical to one discovered in Turktepe. And Gizel entry dates this to the reign of Khosrow first. So it shows somehow it was a control of Sasanians even here, like big influence of nomads, but probably in the time of Khosrow when Sasanian Empire became very powerful, they were able to somehow to take a control. And defense structures. We know famous Great Kurgan Wall and Tamisha Wall in northeast of Iran, and there are other walls in Russia, in Derbent Wall, or other wall in Azerbaijan, Beshbarmak, or like Gilgil-Chai walls. But if we move to the south of Turkmenistan, what we have? We have Merv. This is Abivert region. And now we have traces of the so-called Merv. And if you, it's approximately 200 kilometers and still reaches a height of 1.5 and 2 meters and width of 2.5 meters. So probably, because here we have a Sasanian period sites, here the desert Karakum. So probably it was built in that time by Sasanian to protect Abivert from invasions. Another wall, it's Antiochus wall. It was accepted before that it was built by Antiochus. But it even like in a Strabo he mentioned about this wall. But this wall, which was accepted before as Antiochus wall, it's a Sasanian wall because of the work of Italian team and Turkmen and Russian team. They made excavation, they cut this wall, and you can see this trace of this wall, so-called Antiochus wall. And it was dated to the Sasanian time. And another wall, it's just north of Erkala, which accepted now as an Antiochus wall. We have another traces there. And you see, it was protection of all these sites. This site is dated to Persian Sasanian time. This is like Garikishman, Ulukishman, and we have here Durnalikala. And if you look, we have here Great Kurgan Wall, we have a Tamisha Wall here. We have Merv here. And we have Antiochus, so-called Antiochus Wall. So we can see, if we connect them, we can see that the borders of Sasanian Empire and the territory which they try to control against the nomads' invasion, this is Karakum. It's a natural border, and it helps, against the invasion. But this part was, we can say, this under the control of Sasanians, and they control. But here also sometimes, as we can see, this sites like Gökçüktepe, they even extended their control here, but mostly it was, the border was here. So here we can see the eastern border of Sasanian Empire for the 5th, 6th century. Yep, thank you very much.